A troubled history. U.S. Iran relations at a crossroads. The relationship between the United States and Iran has been fraught with tension for decades. From the 1953 coup orchestrated by the CIA to the 1979 Islamic Revolution, both nations have viewed each other with suspicion and mistrust. The legacy of these historical events continues to cast a long shadow on the present. Today, the two countries find themselves locked in a high-stakes standoff over Iran's nuclear program and its regional ambitions. The recent breakdown of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, commonly known as the Iran nuclear deal, has further escalated tensions. The Trump administration's withdrawal from the JCPOA in 2018 marked a turning point in U.S.-Iran relations. The maximum pressure campaign that followed, characterized by crippling sanctions and bellicose rhetoric, has failed to yield the desired results. Instead, it has pushed Iran closer to the edge, both politically and economically. The current situation demands a fresh approach, one that acknowledges the complexities of the relationship and seeks to find common ground. The stakes are high, not just for the two countries involved, but for the wider Middle East and the world. A miscalculation or a failure to engage in meaningful dialogue could have catastrophic consequences. Finding a path forward will require both sides to move beyond past grievances and engage in a pragmatic and realistic assessment of their interests. The alternative is a dangerous escalation that serves neither country's long-term interests. The Kissinger Doctrine, Realpolitik, and the Art of the Possible. Henry Kissinger, the former U.S. Secretary of State and National Security Advisor, is a towering figure in American diplomacy. Known for his mastery of realpolitik, Kissinger believed in a pragmatic foreign policy that prioritizes national interests above all else. In his view, diplomacy is not about moral crusades, but about managing power dynamics and finding areas of common interest, even with adversaries. Kissinger's approach to foreign policy was shaped by his experience of World War II and the Cold War, periods marked by great power rivalry and ideological conflict. In the context of U.S.-Iran relations, Kissinger would likely advocate for a strategy of engagement and containment. He would recognize Iran's importance as a regional power and the need to prevent it from acquiring nuclear weapons. However, unlike those who advocate for regime change, Kissinger would likely argue that the U.S. must find a way to coexist with the Islamic Republic. He would likely encourage back-channel diplomacy to explore areas of common ground and identify potential compromises. Kissinger's approach would involve a delicate balancing act. On the one hand, he would seek to reassure U.S. allies in the region, particularly Israel and Saudi Arabia, of America's commitment to their security. On the other hand, he would avoid actions that could be perceived as provocative by Tehran. Kissinger would likely view the use of military force as a last resort, to be avoided unless absolutely necessary. The Trump Doctrine, Maximum Pressure and Unpredictability. Donald Trump's approach to foreign policy has been characterized by its transactional nature, its disdain for multilateralism, and its emphasis on America first. In dealing with Iran, Trump has adopted a strategy of maximum pressure, combining crippling economic sanctions with aggressive rhetoric and military posturing. The Trump administration's decision to withdraw from the JCPOA was a key pillar of this strategy, aimed at forcing Iran back to the negotiating table to extract further concessions. However, the maximum pressure campaign has had mixed results at best. While it has undoubtedly inflicted significant economic pain on Iran, it has also backfired in several key respects. First, it has strengthened the hand of hardliners within the Iranian regime, who have used the U.S. withdrawal from the JCPOA to justify their own intransigence. Second, it has alienated U.S. allies in Europe who have sought to salvage the nuclear deal and have resisted American pressure to reimpose sanctions. Third, it has pushed Iran closer to other U.S. adversaries, such as Russia and China, who have been more than willing to fill the void left by the U.S. Trump's approach to Iran, has been marked by a series of escalatory moves and sudden reversals. His decision to assassinate Iranian General Qasem Soleimani in January 2020 brought the two countries to the brink of war. Yet Trump also expressed a willingness to meet with Iranian leaders without preconditions, a stark departure from the traditional U.S. stance. This unpredictability has made it difficult for Iran to gauge U.S. intentions, contributing to the volatile nature of the relationship. The future of U.S.-Iran relations. Navigating a complex landscape. The future of U.S.-Iran relations remains uncertain. The Biden administration has signaled its willingness to return to the JCPOA, but it remains to be seen whether the two sides can bridge their differences and revive the agreement. Iran has demanded the lifting of all U.S. sanctions before it agrees to come back into compliance with the deal, while the Biden administration has insisted that Iran must first reverse its own breaches of the agreement. The path forward is further complicated by the deep mistrust that exists between the two countries, as well as by the complex regional dynamics at play. The U.S. and Iran have a shared interest in avoiding a major conflict, but their competing interests and divergent worldviews make it difficult to achieve a lasting rapprochement. The U.S. seeks to curb Iran's nuclear ambitions, limit its regional influence, and end its support for terrorism. Iran, on the other hand, aspires to be recognized as a major regional power, to maintain its influence in neighboring countries, and to resist what it perceives as U.S. efforts to undermine its Islamic system of governance. Finding a way to reconcile these competing interests will require a Herculean effort from both sides. The Biden administration faces a difficult choice. It can either continue the Trump administration's policy of maximum pressure, which has thus far failed to produce the desired results, or it can pursue a more diplomatic approach, which would involve making concessions of its own. The former course risks further isolating Iran and increasing the likelihood of conflict, while the latter could alienate U.S. allies and embolden Iran. Ultimately, the Biden administration will need to decide whether it is willing to pay the price for diplomacy. The stakes are high and the consequences of failure are grave.